Hello, I'm Ryan, and welcome to The True Connoisseur, my channel where I discuss fragrance as personal experience, as cultural object. And today we are discussing a fragrance that's relatively new to me, and that is Le Galion Ferveur. And Ferveur is a 2022 fragrance for Le Galion, and I haven't really sampled this house broadly at all. Some of the samples came with this bottle, so I'll be digging in shortly. But this fragrance caught my eye when it was mentioned on Instagram. This is created by one of my favorite perfumers, Rodrigo Flores Rue, and was created to be a throwback to the sort of powdery, vanillic, spiced, woody fragrances of the 1980s that might have been worn in the clubs of that era. Rodrigo Flores Rue is a natural choice for the assignment. Some of his work for Artiste in particular explores throwback profiles, things like his riffs on Koros and other fragrances of that time period. So going back to things like Opium pour Homme, for example, made sense for his particular sensibilities, and he's done really nicely here. Ferveur is a fragrance for those of us who might like something like Musc Ravageur, which I think is a beautiful all-arounder vanilla with depth currently, but is not as musky as its reputation, certainly not in current formulation. I've never compared it to the very original release, but the musky tones of it are fairly subdued. This is a slightly muskier fragrance in the sense that this really recalls the 1980s, especially off the top here. Initially, when sprayed on skin, Ferveur has this sort of bitter bergamot that recalls something like a Shalimar, per se. The sort of very sharp, bitter bergamot, a strong muskiness, and then florals and spice. Um, it's a powdery, woody vanilla, but at first here, especially in these opening sections, what I'm reminded of a little bit is Guerlain Héritage. Guerlain's Héritage is one of my favorite fragrances from that house. So this is a nice kinship here, though I think this is more uniformly uh, unisex in its reliance on stereotypes. This is somewhere between Héritage and something like a Shalimar or a Le Lion by Chanel. Something very classic and full-bodied, but with a little bit of the spicy florals that I associate with Héritage. The woodiness and floral tones gradually recedes, and alongside that powdery spiced vanilla, you get a strong amber accord coming in, alongside some coconutty woods and some powdery sandalwood. The coconutty tones are interesting. They remind me a little bit of Cartier's Oud and Ambre, which I've reviewed for this channel. The amber accord in that is a little bit similar to the one that Rodrigo Flores Rue is using here. But this is overall a much more complex and more interesting fragrance than that. It's very elegant. It's very classy. It's very cozy. It's perfect for this time of year. It is a bit throwback, so I'm enjoying that a lot. This is kind of a stroll down memory lane. Now, of course, if you have a good bottle of Opium pour Homme, this may be less immediately appealing to you, but I think this has a lot of nice character to it. Rodrigo Flores Rue has really done a fairly well-rounded job of pulling this structure together. And I'm enjoying it on its own terms. It's very tasteful. It's very immaculate. There's something almost like clean and soft and cozy about it. It's very rich while being also like very well groomed and light, a kind of fluffy cloud of ambery vanillic goodness that I can just wear throughout the day. There's plenty of sandalwood tones here. If anything, this might be a reason to prefer this to the current formulation of Héritage if the substituted more synthetic sandalwood in the current version of Guerlain's Héritage bothers you, I find the sandalwood in this one a lot nicer, a lot more in that sort of wonderfully powdery, soft sandalwood. It's not quite rich Mysore sandalwood like you would have gotten in a fragrance of the 1980s, but it is lovely nonetheless. Feels authentic to my nose. Um, and the way that it's blending with the labdanum from that amber accord is really lovely. There's a bit of powdery iris in there too, pulling it into the lineage of something like Shalimar. And all in all, it's just a very well-rounded package. So if this sounds like your cup of tea, it probably is. It's certainly my cup of tea. I expect to be wearing it a good amount. Though I do recommend that if you have the opportunity, do sample. Don't necessarily just pull the trigger like I did. I have a good sense for my own tastes, but always a risky proposition. Let me know if you've tried this fragrance. Let me know if there are others in this category that appeal to you, and I'll look forward to hearing your comments. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one.